Let's go, everybody. It is February 13th, 2024, and this is episode 23 of the LA Poker Roundup. Man, we have got a great show for you tonight. As you may have already noticed, we have a very special guest with us tonight. Ms. Xuan Liu is here and willing to chat with us. Apparently, Derek and her go way back, so hopefully we'll get some good war stories from back in the day here.
What's up, everyone?
Also, we will go over what few results we were able to find from Commerce and scrape together this weekend. I was down there despite it being such a holiday weekend for everybody. I managed to. I'll be honest. I was trying to get a trophy so I could rub it in Derek's face. We'll find out how close I got to that or not after we were
You
done
got,
with our interview.
I feel like you got a little bit too close for comfort. And after that, we're going to cover the bikes. Has a very exciting, March schedule coming up. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, as well as a nice announcement from the Gardens.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I'm very excited about that. Okay, so man, I can't wait. Let's just jump right into it. So before we start, for those of you who do not know, Xuan here is a long-time poker crusher. She has been killing it in every form of Hold'em for a very, very long time. Her first really big score came in 2011 at EPT San Remo. She is one of the top-ranked women tournament players. If you look it up on Hendon, she's got over 2 million in tournament cashes. You'll see her lately all over social medias, YouTube. You see her on all the big cash streams. She's played on Hustler Casino Live. She's played at the Lodge. In fact, she'll be playing at the Lodge in 2 days. They have a special Valentine's Day stream happening. She is currently a WPT Global Ambassador, and she has always been an outspoken and active ambassador for women in poker for her entire career. So we're really happy to have her here. And also, we have her Twitter and YouTube and her Instagram handles in the description. Make sure, if you are not following her already, jump in there, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and while you're at it, hit them for us too, if you would.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited about your podcast. I think it's super cool. I've known Derek for so long. But yeah, can't wait to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much, Schwan, for joining us. And actually, even though you and I have known each other for a really long time, grinding 5, 10 cash games, the Commerce and the bike back in the day, I actually really don't know how you got your start in poker. So why don't you tell all of us a little bit about how you got started?
There's like a short version, medium version, and a long version. But the Cliff Notes are basically I was a little degen from like the get-go. I saw a movie called God of Gamblers when I was like super young, and fell in love with like the version of stud poker that they were playing, and basically just started like practicing with my stuffed animals when I was like 5 years old.
Man,
Um, did you guys do that? Do you guys
stuffed
know about the
animals.
movie I'm talking about?
I do
I,
not.
I I've heard of it, but I've never watched it. I'm gonna go get it right
Yeah, I'm
after
writing
this.
it down right now, but how do you get a read on a stuffed animal? That must have been a really tough game. I don't know.
I just loved putting my brain in the mind of someone else and just playing with incomplete information, and acting as if I were that person,
Oh, wow.
or that animal. I've just always enjoyed games of like skill and chance growing up, and played sports all throughout school and everything. So um, poker was kind of a natural progression for me when it blew up and I got a chance to play for real money around the moneymaker boom.
You say that
Yeah,
you've always loved games of skill and chance. So what other games did you kind of play and really enjoy while you were growing up?
Yeah, so my parents taught me, all the classic Chinese games like Go and Chinese chess and regular chess as well. And just like all the variations of like Big Two and stuff like that. We were a big games family. Like I would always see my paternal grandma just playing like mahjong in the courtyard with the other grandmas, like smoking and talking shit. Those were like some of my fondest memories of her, to be honest. Um, and yeah, sports. Obviously, growing up, I won Athlete of the Year 1 year in middle school. Had always refed and played like I guess in Canada it's like the equivalent of like I guess divisional sports and volleyball. Um, and yeah, was involved with intramurals in college, and it was just I've just always loved being competitive, whether it was like team sports or individual sports.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was on the chess team in high school and grade school as well.
I was on the chess team in high school. Hey,
We're a bunch of nerds.
yeah, of course. That nerds rule the world. Nerds are gonna rule poker. Very cool. So I feel like it's a really common thread to hear about the gaming in the family, the games growing up, the competitiveness. A lot of those athletes coming over into poker. So that's really cool. So how did you end up out here then in LA with Derek and with these guys?
Honestly, that was kind of a dark chapter in my life. I'm not gonna lie.
Derek, you're
I
a dark
went from
chapter.
I was.
No, Derek was a bright spot in all of it.
Oh, thank you.
Um, so it took me a while to graduate college because I was already playing so much poker online at the time and live. Like I would skip so many classes and exams just to go to like the charity casino to like play 1-2-2-5 limit poker. And I was like grinding online sit and goes and just like dabbling in no limit cash games at that time. Um, until after I graduated. And when I graduated, I was starting to study for my CFA. And of course, like any good, Asian daughter, I was like, trying to get into finance at the time to make my parents happy. And I was doing some day trading with family. But I wasn't really happy, I always loved poker, and I would look for excuses to sort of like travel down to LA to play cash games at the time. I was still very much a cash game noob, and I actually got crushed when I was in LA. Like I had like good periods, but overall, I mean, it felt like I was getting crushed. I wasn't like losing that much or anything, but like there would just be so many days where I would be like, what am I doing with my life? Like I got angle shot so many times. I learned all the lessons so fast in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LA is pretty scummy in that way.
But you know what? That also made me so much of a better player and more prepared for like all the other scummy poker players in the world.
Man, that's
because
so LA. So your memory of LA cash games is scummy angle shooting. Jeez,
100%. Yeah. Just like every shape and
so
form.
it sounds like you're playing a lot at the Commerce or something like that. I don't
I
know.
was, yeah.
She was playing a lot of the Commerce, but you found a nice little circle. It was like between like me and Holly and Sky and Mike, right? So you did find like a group of nice people.
Absolutely, yeah. And people who felt sorry for me, for sure.
So you say you were finding excuses to come down to LA. You're from, or you grew up in Toronto, is that correct?
Yes.
So
I was born in Tianjin, but grew up in Toronto.
So what you came down to LA from where? Were you in school kind of somewhere in this general
So this was right
hemisphere?
after I graduated from school, mostly from Toronto. I'd met some friends and, someone who was like coaching me and backing me at the time that got into like a weird situation, as you can imagine. So like that happened a couple of times, and I just loved the game so much,
Okay.
and I just like wanted to travel and have
I
like
gotcha.
adventures,
So you
like that.
you were literally coming all the way from Toronto to LA to play.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if you meant like you were driving an hour or two, or if you were
Oh
coming
no.
all the way across the country. Oh wow, very cool.
Yeah. Well, I was flying there, and then I would stay at the DoubleTree, which was a brand new hotel at the time, across from the Commerce.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had some of my most traumatizing experiences. Like I got held at gunpoint by like LAPD cops, like in my hotel room. It was just all of the LA things happened to me in that phase, and
Wow, I
yeah.
kind of want to hear that story. That sounds like excessive. That sounds excessive in every way. What they felt threatened when they bust your door down and they had to pull their guns out on you. Holy cow, what's wrong with the LA police? Jeez.
Yeah, they thought I was like some criminal. They like some identity theft situation because I was like staying at the hotel for like a month, and I was like mostly paying cash, and sometimes I would use like like a prepaid credit card thing, and like or my PayPal, and one time like there was just something weird with the transaction, and they called the cops, and yeah,
Wow.
just
That's insane.
Yeah,
That's absolutely insane.
that does not sound like a situation that warrants a gun. Okay. Anyways, let's get back to something more fun. Let's get back to poker, shall we? So it sounds like you played, and you did have there were some places to play a little closer to home. From being from Toronto, there I'm from Rochester. I know that I used to drive back to Niagara Falls every Christmas break, every break from school to do a little playing. And I remember in one of your blogs, you said that you used to go down there and cut your teeth down there at the old. Did you played on the Canadian side, I imagine, or did you play on the?
The Canadian side was better.
Yeah,
I mean,
I didn't want to
pretty
change
nice.
money. So, you get a little action while you're back home, and obviously you spend a lot of time in Vegas, and you've played all around the world now. So, how do you feel like, unfortunately, I can't argue with you much, but LA feels a little scummy in the cash games. So how do you feel the cash games, or even just the player pools in general, compare between, like Vegas, LA, Toronto, any the other places you played around?
Okay. Honestly, I haven't really played that much cash games in Vegas, believe it or not. It's mostly
Wow.
like more of a tournament grind for me until like last year. And even then, I didn't play that much. I actually quit poker for a long time, and before that, I was grinding mostly tournaments. I would say, LA, everything's so spread out. There's so many microcosms. There's so many like different types of like games. There's like the ethnicity like type games, there's like the stream games, there's like all the microcosms with the casinos, like it's honestly kind of a headache if you're like not a
Yeah.
local and not talking to people. It's like kind of hard to figure out like who's
Yeah.
who, and sometimes that can be important
Yeah,
because like
yeah.
everybody kind of like wants to be your friend. And I don't know, I'm not super social of a human. I mean, I can be mostly behind the keyboard, but so like LA's not really for me, like because of that. Um, I like Vegas more just because I can come here and not go on the strip at all, live by the mountains and, just live a quiet life with my dog. Um,
Sounds peaceful.
Toronto's, yeah. Toronto's entirely different. Like I don't really see Toronto as like a major city, even though it's grown in a lot of ways.
That's how I feel
There's
about
still like
Rochester.
a lot of, yeah, there's still like a lot, like a huge poker community, but like a lot of it is like home games and stuff. And I used to work at home games, deal at them, hostess when I was, very young. And it's not really an environment I like to be in. Um, and the casinos, they don't really care about poker. So
Mm.
yeah, unless there's like a big tournament series in town, I don't feel like it's a good use of my time.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I think it's very political, just in general, getting into high stakes cash games, especially in LA, like you say. And honestly, the reason why I even gravitated to tournaments, and it might be the same thing for you, is I just actually hated all the politics. I hated having to always it was almost like you were expected to be like social, right, to everyone. And it's like tournaments, I could just kind of play how I play, right? With cash games, I feel like even with cash games and casinos, sometimes it feels a little bit political. And it was really kind of taxing on my like mental energy. So yeah, I totally feel you.
Mhm.
So in the chat here, and man, when you described the LA cash or just cash game scene, it just sounded like you were just describing LA in general. Clicks everywhere, everything's spread out.
It
You have
is.
to know people. You have to everything's so fake. Oh man,
Yeah.
this interview is kind of depressing. I'm starting to think, what am I doing here? But
No, I love many things about LA.
here,
California is still the best place to live in the world, probably.
Yeah, it is. I think so
By
too.
many measurements.
and unfortunately they know it. Unfortunately they know it. G-Rec in the chat wanted to know if you could talk about some of the angles people got you with in the early days here.
Just anything you can think of. There was a lot of like people pretending to be nice and my friend and being like, trust me, I got you. Like just fold, like that kind of thing. There was also like the hiding chips or sneaking a big chip, on like during the hand. There was also some like mental stuff, like some like sexist mental stuff, like oh, like
Yeah.
women aren't supposed to be aggressive, or like being called some not so great things, and just having my emotions pried on a lot. And back
Yeah.
then I used to be a lot more yeah, emotional, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you definitely grew into a position of strength, and it kind of sucks you went through that, but definitely hardened you, I'm sure, over
Mhm.
time. And I do remember a lot of the regs of the bike back in the day were just super kind of scummy like that. So yeah, and even at the commerce. So yeah, totally good job. I'm sorry that happened to you. I kind of maybe I was a bad friend because I didn't even know all this was happening to you, and you never really told me. But I'm sorry about it now.
Don't be. Honestly, it's made me a much stronger player. Like
Yeah,
it was such an advantage to me when I was in like Italy and Spain and basically
that's
anywhere
true.
where language wasn't involved, where
Yeah.
players kind of pulled this stuff, not even like realizing that it could be like an angle shoot.
Yeah.
So
And Kyle in the chat asks, do you play mixed games too? Because I think you do. You do play mixed games, right?
I did a lot more when I used to be more serious about like, chasing after a bracelet and stuff
mm,
like that.
Oh
My only
yeah, yeah.
WSOP final table is in a mixed game.
ah
Oh, nice, nice.
yeah, and
Well, I mean, it's been, you've been playing poker for a real long time. So how have you kind of kept your skills up to date, year after year after year, especially now with how things are kind of going with solvers and everything, right? So like how have you been keeping your skills up to date?
Yeah, so this is actually something I feel really guilty about, because I did take like a few years off, because I was so burnt out. And when I came back, when I treated it like a recreational player, like I didn't put any pressure on myself. But when I decided to, kind of take it seriously again, I was like, all right, this is not going to cut it. Like players
Mm,
are so much better these days. Everybody talking about poker too is so much more studious. And, honestly, they have every right to kind of look down upon the way I approach the game. Since then, I definitely have caught up a bunch. I just started this challenge thing where I'm like forcing myself to study for 45 minutes every day.
yeah,
I joined I hired a bunch of coaches and um, I obviously I went from like only playing on stream games kind of where like luckily like it hasn't been too relevant. Obviously like having more knowledge is never going to be a bad thing and
yeah.
I can't always just rely on getting into, the juiciest lineups to make money if I want to stay in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, you've always had really good like card sense and good instincts for poker, right? And I wouldn't say that you're just like a live player, like kind of like that, because you did have a lot of structured thinking. I felt like with the way that you played, and you're also around a lot of really good pros back in the day too. You know what I mean? I still feel like there's so many players right now. There's a bunch that make a lot of those final tables, even in the Poker Go studios, who aren't like really very solver focused, right? Like the Jesse Leonases and those kind of guys. I don't think it's like a silver bullet kind of answer to all that, but it's great to hear that you are. I think the 45 minutes a day is a good lesson for everyone, right? Discipline is like the most important thing that you can have to get better. So that's really cool that you're committing to the game, even though you're already such a good player.
and looks like we have Chainsaw in the chat saying hi, so just throwing that in there.
What's up, Alan?
So yeah, and you mentioned even as a kid you liked the idea of trying to get into the heads of your stuffed animals, right? Would you say that is where you focused most of your kind of early study on, or is that I'm guessing from that answer that you would fall more on the kind of exploits, white magic side, than the solver side naturally. Is that would that be accurate? And if so, are you kind of focused more on the technical side now, or are you still doing a mix in your studies?
It's a great question. I would say that my journey has definitely sort of been really multifaceted. Obviously, when I was like a child and didn't understand pot odds and things like that, yeah, it was definitely more exploitative and very psychological. Um, Afterwards, when I first started taking poker seriously in college, I sort of read every single book there was out there and signed up for all the training sites there was at the time. I think there was
Yeah.
like
Yeah, like two, maybe three.
yeah, that was very studious for a period online. But then I kind of jumped straight into like high stakes live MTTs. And that kind of spoiled me because I kind of had good successes right away. And I actually let my game like just fall far behind once I had that success.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I never really had like the drive to become like one of the best players or anything like that. It was always sort of like a means to an end, to like travel and do cool shit. And so I definitely got too relaxed and stopped studying. I would say these days, and when like right before I took a long break, I tried to get back into like being super analytical and technical. And I think I was probably swaying too much in that direction and second guessing sort of like all the instinctual stuff too much. Um, but now I think I'm finally getting a good balance of everything back again. But you know, like with all these solvers, like there's just so much more technical stuff to learn, and it's just uncapped. There's so many variations of poker, especially you know the games that I play, and yeah, you anytime you open a bag of worms,
Right.
I just feel like I'm falling
As
like
soon as
more
you,
and
as
more.
soon as you figure out, you know, the regular cash game, then you can study 1,000 big blinds deep. Then you can study with an ante. Then you can study with two
Yeah,
blinds. Then you can study
Yeah.
the stand-up
I
game,
don't-
right?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. And
Uh,
but
And
that's what's so much fun, right?
yeah, and Steve in chat wants to know, since you travel so much, do you take your dog with you? Do you leave him in
I
Vegas?
I sometimes take him with me. He has a very responsible dad as well, so he
Oh,
helps
That's
out.
that
nice.
helps. That helps so much. um, so as long as we're talking about travel, and you know, you've mentioned this a couple times, it almost feels like you know you kind of said you play poker so you can travel, not the other way around. Where are your favorite places that you've traveled to playing poker, Ben? You know?
I would say early on in my career, that was definitely the case. These days, I still feel very, very lucky when I get invited to places to play. But like, I kind of just want to stay put like way more often. But some of my favorite places have got to be South Africa. You know, seeing the animals on safaris
Oh,
are incredible.
Wow.
Um, mhm. And Australia, poker there is wonderful on its own, but just the environment, the beaches, the sunshine,
I
all
think the
that good
tournaments
stuff.
are starting to come back there. I think, right? Rampage just won one, and I thought I heard some murmurs they're trying to bring some
Well,
big
that's
tournaments
great.
back, right?
Mhm. There's a big WPT there every year now. Not
Nice.
at not in Sydney anymore, but I haven't been yet. Mhm.
Awesome. And um, yeah, man, South Africa. My brother was there for work for a couple months, and he said he almost wanted to move there. So it's very
Right,
cool. I've heard
yeah.
great things about visiting there. What about you know, I was you know leafing through your Hendon, and you had um, a lot of EPT results in there. So you must have spent a considerable amount of time kind of moving around Europe and whatnot. What are your favorite places to travel and get around in Europe?
Those were gonna be next up on my list. Berlin's one of my favorite cities. I love places in Italy. San Remo is where I've had a lot of successes. My first six-figure score was in San Remo. Actually, my first two six-figure scores were in San Remo,
Whoa.
so it has
Nice.
like a very special place in my heart. Um, yeah, Barcelona. I mean, just love playing against those Euros. They're so friendly and they just have such a good time.
What do you
I feel
say?
so
Oh,
uncultured because I feel like I never travel. I feel like my passport's been expired for like 10 years. So I'm super jealous of all your globe charting.
yeah,
If you were
I got to
really
renew mine.
jealous, you would have done something about it.
That's true. That's true.
Would you say, or rather, I'm not sure if you've played in Europe recently, but if you have, would you say that the play of the players and the locals has changed significantly over your career? And if you haven't, what would you say the difference between playing the Europeans there and the Americans at that time was?
So I was in Barcelona last year for the EPT, but before that, because I've been out of poker for a while, I wasn't super familiar. Overall, there are Euros from some countries that are much better than other countries.
Yeah.
Um, and they tend to be more studious. And honestly, I think like there's many great things about these countries, but to be fair, like the average living wage is like a lot lower, and you know they just kind of try harder and take the game more seriously if they have it as a profession. Um, However, the recreationals from like the more like touristy countries, like I mentioned, like Italy, Spain, Malta, places like that. Their recreationals are, yeah, they tend to get very emotional and very like play very ego driven poker, I would say,
Mm,
which tends to be very exploitable.
gotcha. Very cool. No, I would love to, like Derek, I would love to get and play some more poker in another country just for the experience. Um,
Yeah, we got some people in chat here. So we got Scala saying they loved your appearance in high stakes poker playing against Jennifer Tilly, and I do remember watching that. That was really cool. That was against like Antonius and everybody. Oh, that was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that was actually one of the reasons I got back into poker.
Huh.
Crazy story. Yeah. I think one of your later questions is about how I got started with WPT. Basically, I mean, the medium length answer is I was invited to do some commentary for one of their like heads up streams. I was in Cabo to do Chinese commentary actually. Um, we don't even need to talk about how that went. My Mandarin is very rusty, but
mm,
I was glad for the experience. And then they asked me, and that was the year that WPT was hosting the high stakes poker episodes. And so they invited me to be on that as well. And it was a super last minute decision. I hadn't played poker seriously for like many years. And all of a sudden, I had like six figures in front of me at the table playing with these legends. And I just got hooked again, for better or worse. But
Yeah, I remember you bluffed Antonius like out of his freaking seat. That was such a great episode. I want to just go back and watch it. So Chainsaw is also saying, ask Xuan how much she enjoys mixed games. She held her own at the Aria Horse. It looks like you were beasting over there in some mixed games over in Vegas.
yeah, I mean, I always have fun in mixed games, but like there's just too many spots. I'm just so understudied. There's too many spots where I'm just like not
Yeah,
sure of what to do at that I can't like take them seriously for a little while.
yeah. But okay, so let's keep going with these questions. What are what are some organizations and projects you've been involved with? Specifically because we know and I know right of your history of helping women in poker, but what are some specific organizations and projects? And yeah, let's start with that before we even go into more questions about women in poker.
Sure. So Poker Power was another big reason why I got back into poker. During the pandemic, Jenny Just launched this organization that strived to teach 1 million women how to play poker. Someone got me in touch with the organization, suggested I teach, and it super like invigorated my love for the game again. Just like
Nice.
teaching like grassroots beginners, like what high hands are and things like that. Soon after, I became on in advisory on their board. Yeah, and it's been a few years now of having this be one of my mantras to how to live life, just like hoping to inspire other women to get into the game. It's
Yeah.
honestly like given me so much and helped me so much with decisions in life and gaining confidence, and I just want to give that back to and inspire people. um
yeah, I've seen the Poker Powers kind of mission statement is that poker will teach, girls and women really important life and business skills, right?
mhm.
Totally agree, completely agree. What is, could you kind of give one point? Like, what do you think is the most important skill, or what do you think is the one that really resonates the most with you? That you think, if you could, if you had you're teaching, some college
Awesome.
students, some teenager poker, what is the one thing you hope that they can connect to life?
Yeah, I would hope that women just have more courage to take risks without like worrying about the outcome so often, and
Hmm.
like understanding that like many decisions are results are based on probability, and you could completely make the right decision and have things not work out your way. That study about how like women only apply for jobs when they have like 100% of the
Yep.
requested skill
Hmm.
set, and men
Yep.
will do it apply with like much less. I think that's like super indicative of like how the genders sort of like approach life and risk taking and things like that. And yeah, there's very often no downfall, and you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And yeah, it benefits everybody if women just like have more audacity to take chances,
Yeah.
to
No,
put themselves out there.
it's great. It's a great lesson. And then I have to make sure I mention this, or my friend's going to. I'm gonna get it in my other group chat. Have you been involved at all with the another women's poker group that started kind of around the pandemic? The Pocket Queens group that what's her name? Victoria started, and my friend here, Rachel Jacopuzzi, is running from LA.
Very cool. Yeah, I love what Victoria's doing. She's super inspirational for me. She kind of got onto the scene when I wasn't fully back into it, but yeah, she's been motivating me to be better, and I want to be more involved with Queens. Pocket Queens. And I actually signed up to be a mentor in their mentorship program recently. I just started. I'm paired with a super smart cash game player. I need to definitely be on top of it a little more, but
Oh, very
and
cool.
I'm be doing a lesson
Oh, awesome.
probably sometime in April with the group as well.
Any
Yeah.
any can we get the scoop? Do you know what the topic is going to be?
I don't know, honestly. It's so intimidating because they have like such incredible guest instructors. Like they have Lucky
Oh
Chewy,
yeah.
and week they have like Kevin Rabichow, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's like how do I go after them? Like, they
Um,
should just have them every week.
yeah. Well, I know they are looking forward to your lecture very anxiously, and they can't wait. So I'm sure it's going to be great. And I've been trying to get my wife to sign up for their lectures. Not so that I can watch them myself, but uh, but just because it is such a great group around here too. So
Like,
in the beginning, you kind of told some scary stories about how awful you were treated at the table when you came down here to LA. I'm sure you saw that at many other places. We're kind of curious, how do you feel? Do you feel that's evolved or changed or has been getting any better over the years? Or since you said you took a long break, did you come back? Was there any good surprises on that front?
honestly, I'm super spoiled because I don't have to be in those environments anymore.
Well,
I
wait,
would
Yeah.
wait, wait. I just saw a YouTube series where you played 1-3 for a month, for like a month.
Those Canadians, though.
They were
Canadians are
Canadians.
nice.
That's true. If anyone's gonna be nice all across the board.
one,
So
they're Canadians, and two, many of them probably knew who I was. Like when, I was like 22, 23 or whatever, playing in LA, like everybody wants to be your friend, but most of them just want to take your money
Yeah.
or worse.
uh,
So
um,
maybe that's what my lesson should be about for Pocket Queens, how to not get angle shot.
maybe it's
That's
a
a
pretty
that's a
important
good
one.
one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
unfortunately at the tournament tables around here we see, I see it all the time. People running angles on folks.
Mhm.
It's definitely a good lesson. Well,
Real stakes
you're.
that you play
Oh,
in,
sorry.
it still at the stakes that you play in, it still happens a lot.
Well, I'm a DGen as well. We're DGens. I play, I have a little less self-control than Derek. I play everything. I don't have to have just busted a 1K to play the 250. I'll travel out there for it. So I just play every stake. If there's no, whatever the tournament is going, I'll play the 1K, then the 250, then I'll drive over to Lucky Lady and play the 150. So I see them all.
Oh my
He
God.
grinds.
Yeah.
He grinds everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I get a day to play on the weekend, I take full advantage.
I
But
will say, like over time though, because I think back in the day when you and I were playing, we definitely I saw a lot of abuse, towards you, towards Holly, and things like that. But now, I think I've noticed at least maybe over the last 5, 10 years that at least more guys like come to the defense, right, of women at the table, and there isn't so much like kind of ganging up and at least people being silent. I also maybe noticed it a little bit like less, but again, I'm not a woman, so I'm not like there kind of feeling it. Of course, like we talked about, I have my headphones on a lot, so maybe I'm not hearing everything, but I do maybe like the hopeful side of me thinks that things are getting better. But certainly, I do think that women are still probably being mistreated more than men are.
Yeah, so I don't think the angle shooting aims specifically at women, but more often than not, these women are also newer players.
Yeah.
So if an angle shooter feels like they can take advantage of her because she's new, then they're more inclined to, not just because she's a woman. But overall, I think like the blatant sexism at the table has definitely improved quite a
That's
bit.
good. Yeah, that's good to hear.
Mhm.
We got Steve in chat, so he's got a little bit of a personal question for you. So, given your poker lifestyle, traveling that you engage in, do you find it difficult to cultivate relationships or find romance?
Sorry, what was the first part? I was, I
So the
guess,
first part is just like because you travel so much and you have your poker lifestyle, so it's hard to kind of cultivate relationships with all that going on.
cultivate. I wouldn't say cultivating is difficult. I would say like meeting serious people is more difficult. I would say that like I've sort of been trying to sway away from dating poker people
It's
because,
pretty smart.
yeah, thank you. I hope you guys aren't taking it personally. But I know how poker players can be because I am one. And, at this stage in my life, where I do want to take things more seriously most days, um, yeah, it can be, it has been difficult. But to be fair, it's not like I've been trying. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just never a priority. So it's my own friggin' fault. I could very, very easily just like not play poker and focus on like dating or whatever, but I would just rather play poker and not date poker players. So yeah, it's bad.
All right. So, hopping back to the thread we are on about, women in poker and getting more women to play, what advice would you give or do you give to women who play poker now or who, at all stages, like someone who's thinking about playing, someone who's thinking about getting more serious about playing? What kind of advice would you give them?
Um, I guess it goes back to what I was saying before about don't be afraid to take risks and don't be afraid of looking stupid and like asking dumb questions. Because honestly, there's just no better way to learn than to have people sort of like rip your thought processes apart.
Hmm.
And I know it's a very uncomfortable feeling, and sometimes it sucks to feel small and inadequate, especially as a girl in a male dominated space, and you're constantly wondering if you're good enough, but that's just the best way you can improve.
I mean, that.
It's interesting. There's a very talented female tournament player who is kind of like on and off, just disappears for a couple months and comes back and just like goes like super deep in final tables. Um, and she was telling me how she kind of messed up a hand, and I was asking her to give me the details, and then she started giving all these excuses, like, "Oh, I was like kind of tired. Maybe I should have drank coffee." I was like, "Stop making excuses, right? You're like an excellent player. Stop being embarrassed to me. Stop being embarrassed to everyone." But that's very true. I mean, I think it's applicable around a lot of people just because they just feel so embarrassed about what they do. But maybe it is a little bit more for women. So I think yeah, that's good. That would be a great thing to teach women, like that, about like having more confidence. But even what you were saying earlier was interesting about risk, right? Poker's a great, at least probably one of the best things to learn calculated risk, like no joke, right? Probabilities and calculated risk. I'm not sure if there's a better medium for learning that stuff than poker.
Exactly, yeah. And
Now,
that's why I'm being invited by, MIT to
Yeah.
like, you know, be a guest speaker and host their poker.
Oh, what?
yeah,
What
let's
are you
let's
doing
hear
at
more
MIT?
about that.
I mentioned it. Yeah, so 2 weeks from now, I'll be hosting the MIT Poker Club's Queen's Full event for
Nice.
the second year in a row. Yeah, a great group of kids. I gave a speech about, kind of what I was talking to you guys earlier about, like watching my grandma's like play mahjong and just all the ways that poker and learning about calculated risks have helped me in my life, and I get to hang out with those smarty pants again, and
Yeah.
my parents can't look down on me for not getting into an Ivy League school because
You're
these people
teaching.
are right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're giving the lecture, man. I didn't get into MIT either, so I can relate. But I went there. I went there one spring break, so I'm with you. We got
Well,
there.
the thing is, my first cousin did, and he was like a golden child, like a
Ah,
star student there too. So
you've got more trophies than him. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, now you're like golden child. I'm teaching, right?
Right?
Teaching the classes
Exactly.
at MIT.
I do have one question. You really, um, you really did a good job of kind of what's the word? Well, putting into words, those feelings that of kind of insecurity or the things that could really hold someone back from wanting to feel embarrassed or take criticism, right? What have you found has helped you kind of overcome that or be able to, I don't know, power through that if that's what you did in order to kind of embrace that criticism and be able to either not take it personally or just embrace it to learn from it, right? What kind of things have helped you?
Age. Honestly, I wish I had people who saw what I was going through, like teach me these lessons when I was younger. But everybody has an ego, and most of the guys I was hanging out with, even though they're like younger and way more elite, they're also like nerdy, awkward kids. They like no one was taking my emotions into consideration. And honestly, I had to realize that I was like really bad at some stuff and like be on the verge of like quitting and kind of did um before like coming back in and being like, okay, like am I going to take this seriously? Because if not, like what's the point? Like I'm perfectly fine doing many other things in life, but if you still love the game and you're still serious about it and you want to make something of yourself and want to make a comfortable living, you just have to like face the facts like very blatantly.
We have Evan Muschetto in the chat asking if you're going to come and play any events at the LAPC, and I'm with him. Is there anything we can do to talk you into coming down and after your Texas trip, come play some events? We've got a nice 1 million guarantee 1K coming up here. I don't know. It could be fun to
It's
come
gonna
and
be a
catch up
big
with
one.
come and catch
I
up with
think
Derek, of course, right?
yeah, the TD was saying we're gonna get 1.8, so it's actually pretty good for 1200 in LA these days.
Yeah, what's happening with LA poker tournaments? Like there used to be the
Don't
WPT there. Like
don't get us started.
We've
Don't
got
get
20
us started
episodes
on
of
this.
complaining about that and trying to rally the troops. So uh, we're gonna talk about that when we're through with our chat. So if you keep listening, you can hear what's
Yeah,
happening. But
definitely we had some cratering since COVID, and since then I feel like we haven't fully recovered. There's a huge amount of demand, but I think the casinos aren't really forking up the guarantees for it. But I do see, I think there is some silver linings. I think, we'll talk about it either at this episode or next one. It seems like, Commerce is going to be looking at some interesting things this year. So hopefully things are turning around, but for sure, the LA poker ecosystem wasn't what it was like pre-COVID for sure.
yeah, COVID was just a bomb, just some kind of
Yeah.
like it was awful. But we're doing our part. We're doing our part to hopefully
it's been like
hopefully
that.
get that.
Yeah, in Canada as well. I
Mhm.
mean, I'll definitely make it out for a bigger series, or if someone wants to invite me, pay for
Yeah,
some
maybe
buy-in.
if you're here for an HCL event or something, and there's a good tournament in town, we can all, you can come make an appearance, something like that. We'll have to see. Um, okay. So you already kind of talked a little bit how you got involved with the WPT, but kind of as Derek and I are aspiring personalities here, right? We kind of curious, what is it like to be a ambassador for WPT or for a site or for you used to be sponsored by 888, right? What is it like, specifically now working with WPT, but just in general, what's it like being living that sponsored life, I guess?
It's definitely a mixed bag. Anytime you work with any brand, you have to be really conscious of their expectations and you want
Mm.
to represent them in the best light. And that's a huge part of your job. Having said that, you also have to be authentic, I think, to your personal brand and only work with brands that you can advocate for, like honestly and truthfully. Which is why I'm honestly like very proud to be working with WPT right now. I think there's bad actors and people who work really hard at every major site, and it's not just like some floating head. Most of them, there's a lot of people who care about the game that work for every single one. So I'm gonna put that out there. Um, but yeah, WPT Global right now is in, it's very early stages. I see the potential, and quite honestly, like WPT is probably the most reputable brand in poker.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
mhm. and I would love to grow with them. I know there's other options out there right now. And, I worked with Natural 8, which was part of the GG ecosystem early on, and I was very lucky and grateful for that experience as well. Um, but yeah, like it's tough because you always have to like sort of balance, focusing on poker or creating content and making your company happy, and which takes up a huge portion of your time. Like overall, like I would say it's suitable for me because I'm not such like a serious hardcore grinder. Um, and I don't mind like putting on like a pretty dress and a big smile on my face to take photos with people. But if that's not what you like to do, and you know, you kind of have to figure out if how else you can contribute to that brand.
Got it. Got it. So you're saying that if Derek were to become an ambassador, he might have to give up the headphones.
Exactly.
I don't know if I can smile and take pictures. That might be a little bit too much.
All right. All right. Well, baby steps, Derek. Baby steps. We're working it. Speaking of some of that ambassador work at WPT Global work, I watched a fair bit of your traveling around Canada series. I thought that was really cool idea.
Yeah.
I was rooting for you. I loved the concept. I loved I was just recently watched one where you walked up to the card room that wasn't taking your calls all day and they were closed, and it was a nice little reality TV. What was that experience like for you? How did you how'd you feel as you were doing it? What were some of the ups and the highs and lows for you?
It was so stressful, but I felt so accomplished after. I'm pretty sure like if there was like a Guinness Book of World Record thing, it would be in there because, like Canada is a very big space. I really highly doubt anyone's in every province and territory playing poker.
Especially not in a month or whatever you did it in, right?
Yeah, it wasn't so much of the time thing, but because I was on such a limited
Yeah,
bankroll,
on your
like the
bankroll.
longer I stayed in a place, the more money I would have to pay.
Yeah.
And so like I was just zipping through some of them if I could. Um, yeah, very stressful. Had, felt like I was gonna give myself an ulcer, like cried a lot, felt like I was never gonna beat 1-2 again at some point. Uh, and then yeah, I was so lucky.
There are many chat pros who will contend that 1-2 is actually much harder to beat than high stakes.
Not, but well, yeah, that's the thing. Like I had a bunch of losing sessions, and then like one night I just like won 4K, so
Nice.
yeah, and then it was all uphill from there.
You should have
Oh,
you should
I
have
should have said
WPT. Oh.
because that episode hasn't been released
Oh
yet.
no.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
And it's completely my fault. Like I have really good editors at WPT like working on everything for me, but the videos haven't been fully released because I was honestly so traumatized, like, and I don't want to relive through some of the moments that I haven't like given them all the info about the hands.
That has to be good content. I mean, if you don't even want to go back through it, that has to be just gold. Oh shoot! It was so good. I forgot what I was going to say. We have a question here in the comment from Steve again. He's wondering, when you're an ambassador, how much do they dictate your schedule, and what events you have to go to, or how much say do they have in like what you play?
So because I just started sort of doing this content thing, my ambassadorship deals like been different, like every quarter or so, and I'm like sort of negotiating things again now. But a lot of it is online stuff. I'm representing an online site where you
Gotcha.
can only play, outside of the US. Everybody's deal is different. Like I said, Daniel Negreanu's deal is very different from, I don't know, who else?
Everybody's.
Brad Wilson's. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a competitive landscape out there, especially for Americans. I don't know if you guys are ever gonna. I mean, I guess there's ACR, but
I don't
come
know.
on.
I mean, if they would,
Don't need that.
if someone actually cared and it was a voting issue, we could get out of our way. But it's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Especially not in California. Even if
yeah.
it gets some other states, California would be the last one. It's really, really terrible.
So that answers your question. Kyle as well. You can only play outside of the U.S. on WPT Global. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Stars is making a push for more US presence.
Yep, they're definitely
I
trying.
would love Stars to come back as they were like the most reputable back in the day. I think they're very still reputable now. I would love Stars to come back, but again, I'm not holding my breath for California.
Oh, and I remembered the comment I was gonna make when I was watching your videos. I felt like it was like this video game because you have this home base in Toronto where you can go back and you don't have to pay the rent, and you don't have to rent the car, and then you go out, you're exploring out, you're trying to get as far as you can. So,
Yeah, that was the first stop only. I had to gamify it a little
yep,
bit.
no, that was awesome. Very cool. So, the this question, you spent a lot of time playing cash there, but I had always kind of when I heard about you and read about you, I always just pictured you as this tournament crusher, right? So what is it for you? What do you like if you had to pick one to play forever? Which would it be, cash or tournaments? And then just in general, what do you like about either or?
Like forever, I don't know. Whichever one I have them, probably tournaments, to be honest. I like having like a beginning and an end to the day. There's also like the political stuff we were talking about. It just frees up so much mental energy when you don't have to worry about any of that.
No, for sure.
But I still love cash games. Can't wait to play at the lodge in 2 days.
The stream games seem fun, right? Getting on the stream games does seem a lot of fun. So much action for sure.
Yeah, definitely very privileged to
Yeah.
to be invited to stream games.
They released the ladies who will be playing on that game. I believe it's do I have it here? That's you, Caitlin, right? And uh,
Haley.
yep, I have that right here. Yep, you, Caitlin, Pokerface Ash, and Haley Ocho. Have they
Yes.
announced the guys yet? I haven't seen that on Twitter. I don't believe they
I
have.
don't even know who the guys are.
Who, if you
They
got to
just
pick, who do
no
you think?
information.
If you got to pick who you're playing against, who would you want to be? I'm gonna assume there's at least one or two of the owners will be in there, right? So, would you rather play against Doug, Brad, or Andrew?
Doug, Brad, or Andrew? Andrew or Brad. I mean, they're such nice guys.
I see they definitely are, but I've heard that in these smaller games, Doug tends to punt really hard when it's a low stakes game at his own
He does.
place.
He does punt like crazy.
That's what I've heard. Is if it's a low stakes game that's fun at the lodge, his own joint, he punts. So I might want to play with Doug in a smaller game. I don't know how big this
I'm
game
always
is.
happy to play with Doug, yeah. But I think I'm playing with him for 5100 instead on one of the later days.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're gonna be down at the lodge for a little bit and play in a number of games,
Four
or
consecutive days, yeah.
4 days. Oh, okay. It's
Nice.
Xuan Liu week. Wow. I didn't see that on the lodge.
Like
I just saw.
Valentine's week or something.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, perfect. That's perfect. Um, Very cool. So, what else? You said you took a little time off. You obviously have a lot going on. You said you don't like to, or you're not like a insane grinder like some people. What other kinds of projects do you have going on? What do you enjoy to do? What do you want to tell the people about?
Well, I mentioned the MIT thing. I mentioned the lodge. I'm also gonna be a guest panelist at the MIT Sloan conference.
Wow.
End of the month. Yeah.
That's a sports analytics one, right?
Mhm.
Wow. So
I did that
what's your
too.
session?
All about poker, obviously.
Wow. That's freaking awesome.
I'm very lucky, yeah. Just gotta know the right people who like you, who invite you to things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's more than 100 people who can be on the panel and talk about, more important things than me. But nonetheless, I will do just fine.
Yeah, I think I have a
I
feeling
think
you're
you're
going
gonna
to
do
be a
great.
very popular panel. I think that your
Yeah.
talk's going to go over great, and I'm guessing the math nerds and engineers at MIT. I know if if,
Yeah.
if you came, if I had gone, I would be way more interested in the poker panel than I would be in whatever the
Oh
other
yeah,
sport guys are talking about.
Yeah.
it was a full house last
Yeah,
year
Like
too.
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
So.
that's it.
I mean,
That's
there's
awesome.
only so many sessions for, true shooting percentage and war. No, you get one for poker, right? That's really awesome. Yeah, I
Mhm.
can't wait to look out for that. Yeah, I hope they post it online or something so I can watch it. That's cool.
What about outside of poker? I mean, obviously traveling. You love traveling. Do you have any other big hobbies that you really like to spend your time on?
I'm honestly kind of boring. I try to stay active. I hang out with my dog. I like doing plant stuff. And then I'll have like 100 secondary interests, just like the ADHD life. Um, yeah, like I'll play some pickleball once in a while. I'll like see something shiny and pick it up for like a few weeks and yeah.
I gotcha. Um,
I play lots of League of Legends.
a lot of League. Okay,
That's it.
okay, very cool.
Wow, that's a really hard game. That's a really, really tough game.
I
How
only
about
play
If
Pokemon.
Kyle,
Pokemon Unite is the only or the only team battler I
oh
play.
my gosh, Ty is obsessed with Pokemon. He's got a little Bulbasaur that he puts on the table.
I've got a big
Cute.
Bulbasaur right there.
You
And
think?
he's also got a
See,
big Bulbasaur too.
Amazing.
I won that in Korea on my honeymoon. I got it from one of the
I
little
know.
carnival games. It's huge.
It was an episode we did literally
Yeah.
about your thing. Yeah.
Um,
We got Kyle in chat asking, do you ever worry about stream security at all? Poker stream.
Ooh, spicy topic. I do a lot now.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll play on all of the streams anymore. But I'm looking forward to playing on the lodge.
what
Yeah.
types of things do you do to try and make yourself more confident in a stream, or to mitigate some of your concerns?
Knowing how they operate the back end, knowing who's behind the production, knowing the other players at the table and their reputations.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. I have a quick question. I haven't had the chance to get down to Texas to play yet. Have you found that obviously your stream games aren't always the regulars and the locals, but have you found that play in Texas to be as advertised? Wild, big, splashy, kind of the Wild West of poker here in America, or do you see it just another poker room?
I've definitely seen that side of it. I haven't, I mean, the games I played in were mostly like tough, but like every once in a while, we definitely have something like that happen. Like I was part of that lodge hand with like Bill Perkins, like having to leave in the
Oh,
middle of the hand
mm-hmm.
to the airport. And there's definitely like a handful of players who just love going after it. And obviously that's great. But it can also be very tough to play against, and those
Yeah.
games get huge.
Yeah, it's really high
Um,
variance.
Especially with stand-up game
Mm.
involved. Like I love big, like this huge four bet pot as like the last player standing versus like the second last guy. And of course, you just had aces, like got
So you got
felted.
double,
And
and then you had to find more money to pay everyone, right? Oops.
yeah.
Kyle wants to know who you main in League of Legends.
Um, Leona and Morgana mostly, Nautilus, and Lux, obviously.
Okay. I'm not familiar. Are you familiar with Derek? I know of the game. I love, I freaking loved Arcane. I played some of the card game they
Yeah.
put out. Obviously card game,
Okay.
Legends of Runeterra or whatever, but I've not played the actual game, so I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I haven't played League of Legends, but I played the other one. What's the other game that
Dota?
they have? It's like the turn-based mobile game. I don't remember the name of it. Anyways.
Mhm.
Tactics, TFT.
Yeah, TFT.
Gotcha.
I was playing TFT for a while, but I couldn't keep up with all their changes, so I gave up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sorry. Didn't want to cut you off there.
No, I was just gonna say, like, once I have to start studying for a game to improve, like, I just quit because I already have poker.
Yeah, I feel the
Yeah, I
same
found
way.
myself like going to like websites to look up, what the metas were, and I was like, you know what, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, so I stopped.
Yep.
But it's a really fun game, and it really challenges you strategically. And I think if you're a poker player and you kind of like strategy games, TFT is a pretty good one, and it's not as intimidating as League of Legends, I think.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's pretty much all of the questions we had for you formally. We covered some of it, but if there's anything else, we're just kind of curious what's next for you. Obviously, you have the lodge coming up. You have these MIT things. What's the next big tournament series you think you're going to hit?
So I believe I'm gonna do like the two Northern California WPTs, or well, WPT Rolling Thunder. Then I'll go to Bay, and then it's the WPT Voyage, which I
Oh,
found
you're going
out.
on the cruise.
Yes, I'm going on a cruise. I'm bringing my parents.
Oh,
I
that's
think it'll be
awesome.
my
Oh,
best
it's so
event
cute.
at a WPT. Like I can't imagine that many players, right, in the main. So like
Got a
probably
guarantee.
yeah, ability wise, like it's your best
Yeah.
shot at a trophy.
Man, I,
Yeah,
I
Is that the shooting star at the Bay or no?
they call it the Rising Star or
Oh,
something,
okay,
but
okay,
it's
okay.
not a WPT anymore.
Oh, I see, I see.
Mhm.
my wife and I are planning on going on a cruise this year as well. But you just talked me out of going on the WPT one since clearly it's not going to be as soft as you think it is, since you'll be there. So, uh,
No, great. You guys should definitely come. They have some great deals happening right now.
um,
On
all right. That's all I've got. Is there anything you've got, Derek?
I do. I don't. So actually, one last question, I guess, from Steve. Do you enjoy cooking at all, or are you one of those people that would die without a microwave?
No, I actually really enjoy cooking. But I'm very much like a practical chef.
Mm.
Like I'll just like use whatever I have in like the fridge. Um, and like because I'm not at one place for like long enough that I can't like fully get into like meal planning too much. But when I am, if I am again, like I really get into it.
Very
It's
cool.
really nice, the joy of
And I
cooking.
make lots of soup, noodle soups.
Mm,
Oh, that
So
sounds good.
great. All right. Well, that is all we have. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
It's been a
Schwan.
pleasure. It's been great. I really appreciate it and love meeting you. Hopefully, run into you in real life. If not soon, maybe at the main next year. I don't go to Vegas that often. I'm pretty don't want to leave my house these days either. I'm at that about that time as well. But looking forward to it. And yeah, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
really
thank
can't.
you, Schwan.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's fun, guys. Good
I'm
luck on
sure
your
we'll.
hunting.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll intersect with you at Vegas in the World Series at some point. So we'll say hello then. But thank you again, Schwan.
No problem.
All right,
Have a
and
good
good
night.
luck. Yep, good luck at the lodge next week.
Thanks.
All right, guys, that was pretty great. Let's jump right in. I know I don't want to run too late. I'm getting tired myself. Let's jump right into what we were able to pull together from Commerce here. Man, that was great. I loved having. It's great to have guests on, mix things up a bit. I have the first
Yeah.
time I saw Xuan, I think was on Berkey's podcast when they interviewed her, and I just started looking her up. I'm like, man, how have I not heard of her before? Have I not been following her before?
Yeah, I mean, she definitely, obviously, accomplished a ton since we used to just grind cash games, back at the Commerce and the Bike and, back in the day. So super proud of all of her accomplishments. But I was, yeah, grateful that she was able to come on, hang out with us.
All right. So let's head on over to Commerce. So as everybody who's been playing there knows, they have still not quite picked up the ball with posting results since DJ left. We're still really feeling the effects of him leaving there. So we were able to get some results from Kevin doing coverage over the weekend. When he was there, when a result finished up, he was able to post it onto the blog. So we have those. And we have a couple extra results from our newly minted field reporter, Frank. So thank you so much for the results that we were going to show here. So we'll start off
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
this past weekend. It looks like we had, whoop, that was too much of a thing. In the triple, is that a typo? The triple draw event. Oh, I think it was just 3 different events. Yusuke Sakaya and Masayoshi Tanaka chopped that thing heads up, and it looks like Yosuke took the trophy down. So congratulations to Yusuke. Wow, that's is that 2 Japanese names? I feel like I don't see a ton of Japanese players usually in these events, so that's pretty cool. Congratulations there. And then the next event, also a mixed event that we had this last weekend, we have in the toe event, the 1100 toe event, Anthony Hu coming out and winning. It looks like Jonathan Brenneman got second in that. So congratulations to Anthony.
I think. I think Anthony Hu is a high stakes tournament player. I think I recognize him from a couple of the Poker Go streams. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
kind of yeah, because looks like we're pulling some pros over here for the mixed events.
Very cool. Yeah, I guess like I said, once that hit 1,000 and it's still a mixed event, you got tempted some people out. Familiar
Yeah,
names down here. Fifth place, Adam Kipnis. Seeing
Mr.
his name
Adam.
everywhere as usual.
Man, Adam was like smashing because I mean I know about all his final tables. Just keep texting me to brag about them, but he's been crushing,
Yeah,
and
for
he's
sure.
I think like third right now in the player of the series or something. So yeah, man, he's
We'll
having a great
get to
series.
that soon. We'll get to that soon because Frank did hit us with that picture, and I will
Yeah.
find that and bring that up. So the other big event that was happening this weekend was the wrap up of the mystery bounty event. Once again, we kind of felt like that was a bit of a head scratcher that they did that mystery bounty event right before Chinese New Year and the day two being on Friday. So the guarantee, they did beat the guarantee pretty handedly. I think they got to around 300K in the total prize pool, but
Yeah,
apparently
that
the
was
day
really
two,
surprising.
yeah,
Yeah.
apparently the day two did not go that smoothly. We have, the Mike Escandiari, little CBK here, was having some complaints at the beginning. The clock wasn't working. They did not know what the payouts were going to be and how many of what bounties there were going to be at the start of the day. Apparently that took some time to get figured out, and I believe they started late on this one as well. So another late day two startup. So that's kind of unfortunate. They are still trying to get organized here after DJ left. But the show did go on, and congratulations to Cedric Darrett of Bad Beat Blockers. He pulled the big bounty. He pulled the 20K. So
Nice.
congratulations there.
Congrats, buddy. Yeah.
And then winning the event overall was Ubaid Habib. So congratulations. He is the one who got first place with the first place prize and his bounties. He got 48 grand for that. So congratulations. And second place was Kale Hutton. So congrats to those guys.
Yeah, congrats, guys. That's yeah, that was a pretty big one to I think ship because it ended up being a bit bigger than what we expected for such a
Yeah, such a
strangely
strangely
scheduled. Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Now let's get into the results that our field reporter was able to find for us. So on Sunday, I actually went in there on Sunday. The 12 p.m., I busted out of 2 bullets very uneventfully, but Mario Martinez was able to take that one down and get the trophy. Congratulations to Mario. And then the
Congrats.
afternoon one, the 4 p.m., the winner was Sarkis Zerzizin. If he's the kid who had all the chips so I cashed this one. I got 8th. There were only 61 people. I actually was the min cash, but I got close. I kind of oscillated between being the short stack and being second in chips 3 or 4 times when we were down under 10 people. That's kind of what happens in the turbos when I'm trying to win and everyone else is just trying to fold their way into second place, it felt like, except for this guy. If this was the guy who had all the chips, I did not look up his picture, then he probably had over half the chips when I busted in 8th. So
That's unbelievable.
yeah,
Well, good run, buddy. You got really close there to having holding a trophy over my head. But how was the how was the structure? Was it as good as all the other ones?
It wasn't quite as good, but it is that 20-minute afternoon one. And when we did get to
Yeah.
to that final 8 people, it was a little skewed because he had so many chips, right? Like
Oh,
yeah, he
right.
had
Yeah.
about 1.2 million, 1.1 million.
That's crazy.
The next person in chips had, well, when we first got to that table, he had about 1.1 million. I had about 300K, and the next person had about 250K, and then literally the
Yeah.
other 6 or 5 people all had about 130K or less.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like half the chips in play with 8 people left is wild.
yep.
That's
So
wild.
so when we
Yeah.
got to that point, the blinds were that big. So I had about 20 bigs. So me and one other guy had 20, 18 bigs. Everyone else had, I don't know, like 10, 8, So, but if we had spread his chips around, we all would have had 25-ish, 30, So the average stack was still
Yeah.
probably 25-ish, 30. It just so happened he had all the chips because apparently once he hit 1 or 2 big hands, he was just really rolling over his table. And our other table, we weren't really breaking people fast enough. So he just had all the chips. So that skewed things a bit.
Yeah.
Yep. So congratulations to him. And then in event 50, which was the Monday $400 Hold'em event, a familiar name, Edward Liu got first place there. So congratulations,
Oh,
Ed.
nice.
Yeah, and that
Congrats,
event
buddy.
drew 143 players. So congrats there. And then we have a special treat here. Hopefully this is somewhat accurate, because apparently the last picture that was posted up was not so accurate. But we have, I hope this is, there we go. We have the Player of the Series event. No, this still says 1 through 23 though, right? So I guess this has not really been updated, because we're in event 50 now. So this is the Player of the Series apparently from 1 through 23. So after 23 events, we got Xuan Liu at the top of the leaderboard. And if you look near the top here, we got Adam Kipnis in third. It really is dominated by the mixed game players. I really don't think that has changed in the next 20 events. So I would expect it to be even more dominated by the mixed games players here.
Yeah, it's definitely a mixed game.
Adam
trophy
says
for
that's up to
sure.
date, so maybe they
Yeah,
just
they
forgot
just
to
didn't change the
update the
number.
corner. Oh yeah, the date on the top left is right, 211, and the top right just seems wrong. So okay,
Man, good job, Adam. It's
yeah. So
heck of
Adam
a lot
has
of
a
points.
10K seat locked up right now. So keep it up. He just has to stay above Chad, who's 27 points on your heels. And then after that, you have a nice little buffer, it looks like.
It's a 10K main event seat,
Yep.
so Adam has to play no limit hold'em.
He'll have to play no limit, so that's like 10K
It's gonna
free
be a
money.
good time.
There you go.
Yeah.
10K free
I
money
get
for
to hear
everyone
bad.
else.
I get to hear bad beat stories from Adam again from Hold'em. It's gonna be fun.
So real quick, heading over to the Gardens, there were a couple results posted from their dailies. You know, these Gardens dailies are always crazy. They've been killing it. They've been doubling their guarantees pretty consistently. So they posted up the winner from Wednesday's weekly tournament. Apparently there was a 4-way chop there, and Jackson here got the big part of that stack. So congratulations, Jackson. And then on Friday, there was a chop for the final 7 players, and our buddy Jeremy Hamey was the top stack there. So congratulations, Jeremy, for that chop. Way to go.
Congrats, buddy.
Nice win. And then I didn't go, but I heard that the tournament on Saturday had a really nice turnout, which makes sense because there was almost no other events going on during the Lunar New Year on Saturday. So, the Gardens tournaments are really rocking. And during that 10K week, I'll probably be down there as well. I'm probably not going to play the 10K because of all the days that will be during the week. And, it's going to be a smaller 10K. I don't feel like it's really worth the risk to my bankroll.
There really didn't seem like there was any reason to not run that mystery bounty onto that Saturday.
Yeah, that week.
Just kind of a weird. I mean, I get it's Lunar New Year, but obviously the turnout and the Gardens showed you that people were willing to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have been my my thoughts on it as well. So that is what's going on there at Commerce. And then the other small update that we do have for you, I was chatting with, we've been asking around and trying to figure out when they're going to post the official results, when they're going to get things uploaded. And it sounds, honestly, it sounds kind of, I'm a little surprised that they haven't been able to do it. The issues have been kind of just technical ones. They need somebody to literally sit down and hand type all the results out. I'm not sure. Frank got us some pictures of some of the more recent ones typed out nicely, so maybe they've figured out a system for the newer ones, but somebody needs to sit down and do that for all the old events, the last 20 events that they were behind. And then someone needs to get that over to the other marketing team, and they need to figure out how to get on the website. So they know what they need to do. I'm not sure why they haven't been able to just hire up an intern and do that. I imagine they'd be able to find someone to do that in an afternoon for not too much money. I mean, heck, I'm sure most of the people in the poker room, if you told them you'd give them $200, they would sit down and do that for you. I'm not sure what the
This is one of those. This is one of those like one person jobs, not a lot of experience needed, and should only take you a couple of hours. I do understand. It seems like there's a lot of processes here, but this kind of reminds me of back in the day. Honda sent some engineers to a food bank. Have you ever seen this?
No.
So they had this food bank that was like bringing all this like food and stuff, and these Honda engineers helped them like basically optimize like their chain, like their processes, their supply chain, how they're loading stuff, and how they're even putting stuff in boxes, and it just like amazingly like improved their efficiency and their costs. I think the Commerce probably just needs someone who's moderately tech savvy to come in and just give them a little bit of advice, because this doesn't
Yeah,
it doesn't seem very
it
good.
don't look
And
good,
even if that was
cuz
how you're doing it, but if that's how you're doing it before, that also sounds pretty awful. I mean, it was, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, even if you do, this is one of those situations where even if you do it the most inefficient way possible, it should still only take 5 hours. I mean,
Right.
it's very awkward.
Not,
It's very
yeah.
strange. Like the only thing I see as being a holdup is whoever does this will have access to probably the system you enter all the information for payouts. So maybe that's sensitive information. I don't know, but whatever. Moving on. Once again, we're not sure what the holdup is. They know what they have to do. Hopefully, they get on it
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
The important thing is that they're paying attention to it, right? So
Yeah, that they at least they know what they have to do. That's step one.
Yeah.
So next interesting thing is early last weekend, I believe, Mo and the bike put out a tweet with the schedule for the next tournament, the Winning on the Green. So let's take a quick rundown. We aren't going to spend a ton of time digging into this. We'll do that next week or the week after. We've got some time, but as promised, it starts on the 28th and it's going to run through the 16th. And as you see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sort of 6. This one is a weird mystery bounty here, but five multi-day events here, obviously covering the weekends. A lot of these multi-day events are quantum still, so obviously that rumor that they will no longer be doing quantums is dispelled.
Quantums are here.
They will be doing quantums. They're still here. Love them or hate them, here they are. We will take a look at this. The one thing I did kind of notice is for a while, there didn't seem to be a lot of great one-day weekend events. It's just really focused on these quantums. Later on in March, I think they start to have a couple weekend events, but until then, there's really no options on those weekends other than the quantum. So that's interesting.
Yeah. And as a result of that, actually, these schedules are way better. So I think by my count, it was like 4 out of the 6 events had at least one day one on a Saturday, day 2 on Sunday. Obviously, the quantums typically go to day 3 and sometimes a day 4, so you will have to maybe stretch into early of the week if you go that deep, but that's a nice problem to have. But it is really encouraging because sometimes bike would just land the freaking quantum on a Tuesday, day 2, right? So this is way better. It's not perfect, but it's definitely so much better.
They did have that in the October series that was pretty disastrous, putting their day 2s on random Thursdays and Mondays. But for the one thing I'll push back on is for events like the Mega Millions and the Mini Mega Millions, that day 2 is really not a day 2. That those tournaments are so big. I mean, that day 2 is really the official day 1 in my mind, especially since the other big thing you'll notice is that, yes, the Mega Millions now has a $2 million guarantee, up from the, I believe, 1.5 it typically was. But the other big thing you're going to notice is that there are now 2 day 2s for the Mega Millions, just like the Mini. The Mini Mega already had those 2 day 2s, but now the Mega itself has 2 day 2s. So that's
and it's weird too because you just everyone just picked where they wanted to go. Anyways.
So that's a huge change. So we will talk about all of those things in the coming weeks. So quick summary: the main events for this is a 400K guarantee with a quantum with a $1,400 day 2 straight buy, another $400,000 quantum, but this one's interesting. There is no day 2 buy. It's just a quantum because there are 2 different price points for the day 1s. So that's interesting. Then the Mega Millions with the $2 million guarantee, and that has the 2 day 2s. Then they're going to be holding a traditional event. This is interesting. Maybe it's an experiment. I'm not sure. They're holding a regular $1,100 buy-in. This is the event I'm most excited for of the series, honestly. It's a 400K guarantee. There are 6 starting flights. They cover Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with day 2 on Sunday, and it is just a straightforward, regular $1,100 tournament.
Nice. That sounds really good.
Yep. So that one is the one I'm most excited for there. And then they're going to do a mystery bounty with 3 day 1s that are Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and the day 2 on Saturday. That one you also cannot direct buy into day 2, but that mystery bounty has a 150K guarantee, so that's interesting. And then they will be doing Mini Mega Millions once again with day 1 or with 2 day 2s. This time though, the Mini Mega Millions, all the ones they've held so far, the day 2s were in the middle of the week. This one, the day 2s will be on Saturday and Sunday, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
So that one is much, much better for the working folks. So we will cover the schedule in depth as it approaches. So just want to let you know, if you want to see that schedule for yourself, follow Mo the Bike TD on Twitter X, or follow. I believe that the Park West Bike Twitter also posted and linked to this. So that is big news from the bike. Now, I also want to point out, and I'm gonna tease him about this when we talk about the schedule again, but in Mo's big announcement that the series was back, he said there was going to be two $2 million tournaments, and I do not see two $2 million tournaments in there. I only see one. So I'm going to have to give him some...
As long as you got one through, I guess.
Yeah, at least you got the one. But you have to give a little flack. You promised two, and then the schedule comes out. I'm gonna have to give you a little bit. So then we have another big announcement. Just today, got the text from the Gardens from Kevin. The Gardens is going to be having a spring special. So just announced, hot off the presses, the Gardens is going to be holding another $1,100 tournament right after the Winnin on the Green series is over. So as soon as that series ends, there will be a $1,100 buy-in over the weekend of April 19th through 21st. They're only going to have a $200K guarantee, but if you recall the last time they ran that, I think they got to just shy of $400K or so.
They usually roughly double it.
They always
super excited. I mean, love the Gardens. Like probably one of the nicest casinos to play in the Southern California area. And although I run like absolute crap there, the 1Ks are some of my favorites. So super excited about that one too.
Yep. Me too, definitely. Okay, so let's wrap this show up. Let's jump right into the roundup and talk about what is happening this week in LA, right? So this week, Derek and I are super excited.
All in on this one.
The 1 million, 1K, $1,200 buy-in at Commerce. So what does that mean? That means that there was a one-day tournament on Monday, but for the rest of the week, the only thing they are running at the LAPC are these satellites for the 1K and the 1K itself. So the 1K itself, start with that. It is the same all weekdays. So there's a 12 p.m. start time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 12 p.m. start time. Saturday and Sunday, it's an 11 a.m. start time, with day 2 is going to be on Monday. I guess Monday is President's Day, so if you have President's Day off, that's great. If you don't, like me, I put a pin on my calendar, said there, hopefully I won't be here on Monday, guys. So we have lots of chances to jump into that. And aside from that, the only other thing going on at the LAPC will be these satellites. So they will be holding 3 satellites every single day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 1 p.m., 4 p.m., and 7 p.m. And these are $200 satellites to get into this event. And this event is going to be massive. $1,200 buy-in, all those starting flights. Before DJ left, he projected it would probably get to like 1.8 million prize pool. So
that's right.
If with that projection, I wouldn't be surprised if we get to a $2 million prize pool in this thing. So let's try and push it there. So excited. I mean, if I don't bag up in the first couple flights, I could definitely see it getting there. I really hope that's not the case.
This is the one to play for this week. It's clearly going to be the best event of the series, at least for the No Limit players. And, it's going to rival, some of the big quantums coming up the bike series.
For sure.
Right. But especially because this one doesn't have all the crazy kind of quantum payouts, most of the prize pools is going to be intact for day 2.
Mm-hmm.
So this, maybe I would argue that this is going to be one of the best series of the year in LA. So definitely make sure you get out there for this one, play those satellites if you can't direct buy in for 1,200, because this is going to be a really, really good one.
Yeah. And the way this compares to, say, the Quantum Mini Mega, right, it's very direct kind of comparison, right? Their day 2 direct buy is 1,400, and their guarantees is $1 million. But as we said and pointed out many, many times before, so much of that money comes out of the prize pool before you get there.
Yeah,
this
like
is
20% out. Yeah.
This is I think this tournament falls right in between the mini and the mega as far as like just size go. And the mega day 2 buy-in is like 3,500, I think. So there's, for me, this is just going to be, this is it. This is the best event, and at least in the first half of the year. So let's talk about the satellite real quick. We've talked about this before, but just so you're not surprised, the way that Commerce does their satellites, they call it a one and done format. They run their satellites such that depending on the number of seats being given out, they will, at a particular point, and they've actually provided the chart this time. They never had this before. At a particular time, they may remove the chip leader or top 2 chip leaders from the event and just give you a seat. And that is in this chart. And then once they get down to the number of tables equaling the number of eliminations remaining, I believe. Let me just read it off the sheet so I don't get it wrong. When the number of players left to be eliminated is equal to the final number of tables to be used, then what happens is all the tables freeze, and your table just has to knock one more person out, and then everyone else gets a seat. So it's a different format. It's interesting. It's it's not quite a milestone, because it's not that you hit the milestone. It's that at certain points here in the chart, the chip leaders will just be given a seat and removed. And then at the end, so for those of you who don't like the mystery bounty that the Gardens does in their bounties, this is different. This is more similar to a traditional satellite structure, except instead of, if there's 3 tables left and there's one bubble, all 3 tables waiting for someone to bust, they turn every table into its own little bubble. So I think that's still better. It's still not optimal. I really enjoyed the bounty format, but this is definitely different, and just make sure you know what you're getting into before you get in there.
Yeah, I got Kyle in chat saying 200 Rick. Is that, are you talking about
on the actual
the mill is
$150.
150.
Yeah.
150, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're talking about
It's
collectively off the
still-
satellite or what, but yeah, 100.
Still a little highish, but not out of bounds.
Yep. So aside from this 1K happening this week, we have all the regular tournaments happening, all the dailies. You can get down to the Gardens and play there to build up your points, or to, if I bag, I'll be at the Gardens on the other days. I also have an announcement for Lucky Lady. It's not for this weekend, but in 2 weekends, instead of their regular daily on Saturday, they're going to be having a 20K guarantee. Typically, they only have like 5 or 10K guarantees. So they will be having a 20K guarantee on the 24th, and that will be a $240 buy-in where you start with 50K in chips. So it's a very, very deep in the beginning kind of event, and it's, I believe, double their typical guarantee for that day. Over at Hollywood Park this week, they'll be having some special events too. So if you don't want to play, or the 1200's a little out of your bankroll, Hollywood Park's having some nice events this weekend. So you may want to check out the 50K Sunday special on the 18th. So actually, if I bag that 1K, I know where I will be on Sunday. This looks like a good one. There's also on Friday a 25K TGIF bounty event. And on President's Day, they will be having a 25K event at the Hollywood Park as well. So Hollywood Park has some good ones this weekend if you're looking for 1 days or events that are a little cheaper than the 1200. These events that I just mentioned are all $300, $360, and then it looks like $175 with a $75 add-on.
And definitely play what you like, play within your bankroll, but if you can afford the satellites, the ROI on this commerce tournament is going to be out of this world. So definitely get out there and play it if you can.
Yeah, yep. That is where we will be for sure. All right. Well, that is quite an episode. Thanks for joining us, guys. I hope you appreciated our special guest. I hope that you will be able to get out there and play in this 1K. And if not, I hope that you can get over to Hollywood Park or do something. I hope you didn't lose all your money betting on the Super Bowl. That's all I got. What do you got, Derek? Anything for the people?
No, that is it. We will hopefully see you over there at the Commerce for this event this weekend. But if we don't, good luck wherever you're playing.
All right. That is right. Good luck, guys. And until next time, we will see you at the table.